afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Everything is a Lie, the podcast, which is really just my weekly show, semi-weekly, kind of, sometimes almost a monthly show, just about all the lies that we live with every single day. That's the thing about America, about the United States of America. We say America like we're like America, but the reality is the America is North America, South America, Central America, all these other countries, also America. We, in fact, are simply the United States of America, but we say America like Coca-Cola, Band-Aid, Q-tip, it's become fairly ubiquitous that when you say America, you're referring to the U.S. of A. But we have managed to construct an incredible world of hypocrisy and lies that seems like it's so funny for all of our lies, for all of our hypocrisies. I 1000% still believe that the US of A is still the greatest country on the planet, the greatest place to live. Unfortunately, at this particular point in the timeline, we have reached the pinnacle of American lies and hypocrisy, which have now completely overrun our political system and put us in a very, very, very bad place, because it's a culmination of allowing lies upon lies upon lies to where we would decide, it's easier just to go along with the lies. And for me, my goal in all of this is to start saying, no, let's stop. Maybe we can clean this up. Maybe we need to get back to a place of truth and liberty and reconstructing what America is. Instead of being this complete fake structure where everything looks good but is actually bad, we become that place of everything is good and everything does have quality and things mean what they mean. They say what they mean what they mean, and when you lie, you have to pay the price for lying. There's a penalty for that, and you have to remove the lies from our daily existence so that we know, so we can trust each other again and trust our world again and trust our media again and trust our government again and trust our neighbors again and trust our military again. Because that's what happens with lies. Like any relationship, when lies become a part of it, especially the way they've become such a part of the American experience, the trust gets destroyed. That's what happens when you lie in a marriage, when you lie in a relationship, when you lie in a friendship, when you call the lie, the trust gets destroyed. And that's what we have here now in America. We've said so many lies. We've built out a world of lies to where there's no trust of anyone or anything anymore. When really what we want to get back to is a place where you can trust what you see. You can trust what you hear. You can trust the things that are being proposed to you as being what they are. And that if they're not those things, there is some recourse for them not getting away with all these lies. One of the things about lying in business, especially when it comes to like the pharmaceutical industry, they will go out and put out these products that they've of course spent hundreds of million dollars developing, so they need to make all that money back. So they will lie. They will out and out lie about the test results, about the side effects, about how much it affects you, until it all backs up on them. Now, and then they get sued and they're like, oh, we're sorry, and they get fined. So basically they'll make $1 billion, get in trouble, pay back $100 million, and they still get to walk away with that $900 billion. And that isn't the way it should be. It should be, no, you have to give back everything you made on that lie, because it cost lives, it hurt people, and now you don't get to just keep the money and that's where the bean counters come in, where it's easier to project a lie, make a bunch of money, get in trouble, pay some of it back, and then just walk away with all the profits. And again, this is where the trust in the American dream, in the American way, has become completely decayed because of this incredible world of systemic lies. And I'd like to go to one that we deal with a lot nowadays, and that's streaming TV. Streaming TV has turned out to be a complete lie. Remember, we used to just have cable and you'd pay extra for all the channels, for the HBO and Showtime and Cinemax and all, and those guys. And then they were like, and then, you know, Netflix came around and people were like, you pay $150 a month for cable. I pay $9. I pay $9 for Netflix. It's got everything, and Netflix has everything. And so we all cut the cord, got Netflix, and it turns out Netflix is a load of crap. It doesn't have everything. It didn't have the shows you were used to. It didn't have the stuff that you liked. So you had to add those things back. You had to add back Peacock. You had to add back Paramount. You had to add back HBO Max. You had to add back Disney. You had to add back ESPN. And all, so it became basically exactly the fucking same. The only thing that happened is now we just pay them all each individually instead of paying a cable bill that had them all right there. You pay one bill. Nothing has changed. And by the way, the worst part is I still have cable because they're my internet provider. So I'm still giving them like $80 a month just for the cable itself to have the internet, to have all these other platforms that I now have to pay for individually. And yeah, they have the bundles, and okay, you do the bundle, but you're still, it all adds up to exactly where we were before. Streaming TV, the promise of streaming TV being so much cheaper than cable, it was a lie. It was a lie. And now, also, it was supposed to be no commercials. Remember that? No commercials. Guess what's back? And the horrible thing is, they just changed the deal right from under us. That's the other part, another lie that we deal with is that the big guys, the companies that give us the service agreement, okay, we agree that you're going to provide this, and then they'll be like, oh, we just updated the terms. We just updated the terms. As it turns out, we could just update the terms, which means that the contract wasn't a contract. It was for us. We're still locked in. We still have to pay for it for all the months we committed to or whatever it was. But they can just decide, guess what? Now you get commercials. Sorry, you can pay more and not have commercials. But for what you were paying before, even though that deal was for no commercials, now it has commercials. Sorry, we don't have to do anything. And this is what happens when you have a government that's completely sold out to business that doesn't actually protect the consumer. And the consumer is the American body, the American electorate. And that's why we have to take our power back away from the Democrats, away from the Republicans, form a new party, get all these rats out of the building, and start over in terms of forcing everyone to play by the rules. That's it. We have to play by them. Why don't they have to play by them? Oh, because they have the money for all the lawyers and all the lobbying and everything else. And so everything is sold out. You know, drain the swamp. My ass, great idea. Yes, I would love to drain the swamp. But instead, he just brought a bunch more snakes with him to it. But streaming TV, we were sold a lie. And they have now just turned it back into, it's just TV, only it's a pain in the ass. The players are all different. Some of them are good at live events. Some of them are horrible at live events. And now all we did was buy ourselves greater inconvenience. That's all we did. And it's not any better. Now, when it comes to streaming TV, this brings me to this is one of our great hypocrisies in America. For some reason in America, we think sex, very bad. So bad, so bad. Violence, totally fine, totally great, as much as you want. It's fake violence. Now that's fake sex. That's fake, but that is totally, as much violence as you want. Totally fine. Sex, oh, we can't have, we gotta regulate the sex. Can't have people just going out and having sex now. And I feel like it's predicated on the idea that if you see sex, then you want to have sex, okay? So if that's the case, then if you see violence, you'll want to be violent. And if your response to that is, well, I watch violence and I don't want to be violent, well, guess what? Watching sex isn't going to make you want to have any more sex than you wanted to have beforehand. It's ridiculousness. And the reality is is that both should be regulated exactly the same. There are some images that should only be allowed to be seen by adults of an adult nature, and others that should not be allowed. So when it comes to violence, something, not everything, all violence should be allowed for everyone to see. And when I say that, I'm talking about one, video games, which I know they instituted a grade system on it, so it's like mature, you have to be a certain age to buy, but come on. These kids are watching this stuff left and right. They're not being, it says M for mature, better not play it. They're playing it. Nobody's really watching it. But what it really comes down to me is not the video game, although let's be completely honest. Video games have warped the minds of a lot of, and I mean, not everyone, but I mean, some of these kids are fully integrated into that world to the point where they don't know how to deal with the real world. And that's what I'm talking about. Not that they have to go out and simulate the things that they see in there, although if you look at instances like Columbine and things like that, they tend to, we saw these things come up with the advent of these games and the first-person shooters and everything else. So that is... It just is. It's right there in front of us. It actually happened that way. And it only snowballed from there. But to the extent that you can sit there and be like, well, it doesn't make me violent. Well, you know what? Then it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be so uptight about sex. It's so puritanical. And it comes back to certain religious roots saying that sex is bad. Sex is bad. You don't want to have sex till you get married. All this other bullshit. Okay. If we're made in God's image, God gave us one singular driving force. And that's having sex. That's sexuality. That's spreading our seed. That's having children. That's procreating. It just is a single driving force in us. That's why every advertising campaign in the world tries to somehow tie their product to sex. I'll never forget hearing a tax commercial on the radio. It was a radio tax ad for a few years ago where like the guy is like, I should be home doing my taxes, but thanks to Tax Act, I'm here at a bar getting ready to meet Tracy. Thanks, Tax Act. Oh, hey, hey, good to see you. Thanks for the help, Tax Act. And I was like, wow. They did it. They managed to equate taxes and sex. Whoever, now, did anybody buy it? Did anybody think, oh my God, if I want to have sex, I better get Tax Act? No, but they tried. And that's why, because it's a singular driving force in human nature. If you think about it, almost everything a man does is geared towards having sex. It just is. Whether it's working out, whether it's trying to do something that gets us a lot of attention, whether it's being funny, whether it's having a lot of money, getting a kind of job that gives you prestige. My rule of 3 Ps, the prestige, the profits, the physicality, all those things. This is what all of our lives, the big house, everything, all of it's designed to do what? Get laid. That's it. Women, all of it, going to the gym, the push-up bras, all the makeup, everything you do. What is it? You can sit there and be like, this is for other women. No, it's not. It's to drive men crazy so you can get the best possible option for your skill set. Most of you are looking for, someone that, you don't want a man who smokes but can't buy weed, You want the best possible option for the card you're dealt. So you'll dress it up, you make it tall, you push the boobs up, pack everything in with the Skims or whatever that you want to. What was the body shaping? The sausage wrap. Anyways, all of those things are designed to do what? Make you more sexually attractive to men. Sure, it makes you feel better about yourself, but what is ultimately its goal? It's to make you more attractive to the opposite sex. Whether you're using it for that or not is irrelevant. That's what the ultimate goals of all of that preparation, everything you do is. So it's the single largest driving force in our bodies. And for some reason, For some reason, we as a culture are like, we must deny this is very bad. Till Satan gets in through your pants. Like, no. And here's the other thing. All the rules we've made, all the things that we've done, all the teaching in church, everything, all of it, it doesn't make a shit's worth of difference. If two people want to have sex, guess what's going to happen? They're gonna have sex. No much you try and tell them how bad it is, no matter how guilty you try and make them feel for it, the more or how illegal you try and make it, apparently. It doesn't matter how big a crime you make it, they're just gonna do it anyway. And yes, that is not saying it shouldn't be a crime. It should absolutely be a crime to do the things that a lot of people do. I'm just saying the more we try and act like we can stop it, the more life proves that you can't. And maybe, just maybe, instead of trying to act this fake, it's all about religiosity, basically. It's all about people who aren't having fun, wanting people who are having fun to stop having fun. Who fucking cares? Why are we trying to regulate people's sexuality? Yes, certain laws prevent certain acts from happening which should not happen, and I totally agree with that. But the idea, this puritanical idea of no, we shouldn't show sex or talk about sex, and people shouldn't be having sex, and you shouldn't have a child out of wedlock. You shouldn't have. Okay, I don't think there's maybe one person in America that's gotten married as a virgin in the last 50 years, at least. Maybe one, maybe two, right? Were you a virgin? Did the person you marry, were they a virgin? So clearly nobody actually gives a crap about this. But for some reason, we feel like we got to regulate. Oh, no, not especially not gay sex. Oh, the Bible says it's an abomination. Let me just talk about that for 1 second as someone who's read the entire Bible. And oh boy, this is going to get deep. But here's the thing. If you're really honest about the Bible is a collection of allegories, fables, mythologies, and histories. So there's some things that are true, and all of it isn't literal. All of it is not literal. All of it is a game of telephone. All of them are stories that were told and told and told for hundreds of years before somebody wrote it down and it became the Bible. So if we're being honest, just be honest about human nature. Has a story ever remained 100% true from the first telling to the last telling? Because the answer is no. And when you look at the Bible, let's just take it as it is without saying, oh, some part, okay. And we ourselves also follow some parts, not other parts. You know that's true. We live in total hypocrisy, trying to make other people live up to parts that we ourselves never can. But if we just look at the Old Testament, okay, so we got two things that are the actual words of God. In the Old Testament, God came down and with his lightning finger wrote 10 commandments, right? The rest are all just history, communicated, oral histories that are eventually written down. It's the story of the Jewish people. Now, God comes down, he writes down 10 commandments, right? Right? Now, how many of those commandments are thou shalt not be gay? Because it's none. Now, he does tell men not to cheat on their spouses. Twice. No adultery, and don't even think about it with the woman next door. Do not covet your neighbor's wife. Okay, so he tells us twice not to cheat on your wife. But people do that all day, every day, all the time. But what we have to condemn is these gays. The gays are... Now, some other dude didn't like it. And he was like, yeah, that's an abomination. But you know what else he said was abomination? Was masturbating. Was spilling your seed. There was no difference. Also an abomination. So, if you are so against gay sex, well, guess what? Better not masturbate. Otherwise, you're just another hypocrite. Okay, now, let's take it to Jesus, the things that Jesus said. Jesus said, I give you one commandment. Love one another. That's it. He didn't say love one another, unless it's in the butt, in which case that's gross. Didn't say it. I give you one commandment. You couldn't hold down 10. I'm going to boil it down to one. Love one another. That's it. And we can't even do that. Immediately, the disciples were like, yeah, except for the gays. The disciples said that. They wrote that down. Jesus didn't say that. The disciples said it. Okay? And also, let me just also say this. And this is where the argument that being gay is a choice comes out. Because if you are anti-gay and you consider it an abomination, then you have to consider it a choice, because otherwise God's wrong. Then God created something wrong. And we believe that God is infallible. He cannot create something wrong. So if we are anti-gay, then it must be a choice. They must just be deciding to do it. They decide they want to do it. But clearly that's not the case. Okay? God created everyone. So he created gay people too. So clearly, I don't think God has a problem with homosexuality at all. His only problem is if they're gay and evil, just like anybody else. If you're straight, he doesn't mind you being straight. So if you're straight and evil, so long as you love one another, that's all that matters. And some of the most caring, loving, accepting people I've ever known in my life were gay people. Not a vicious bone in their body, unless you said something that unless a little tongue whip came out. But they were just. Now, again, these are just the people I've met in my life. Yes, there are evil people of every type and style and denomination and configuration. Absolutely. But it has nothing to do with their homosexuality. Okay? God loves all the little children, all the children of the world, except the gays. No, that's not how the song goes. And we all knew that kid that was gay. As a kid, you could tell the kid's gay. Are you telling me he chose that at 7 years old? No, but you knew it. You're watching him run around playing with dollies, wearing it. You're like, oh, that kid, he's he's pinkies up. And that's not, and the idea that we hold on to, like, oh no, you can't, we got to just pretend like it's so wrong and don't let him do it. And let it go. Let it go. We as a culture, as an American culture, need to let go of these ancient grievances and focus on solutions for our culture as a whole. So I just think that we need to regulate violence the same way we regulate sex. Not that we let it just go completely and, kids, come in here and watch this porno with your old man. No. But to do the same thing with violence. We can't have these hyper-violent events on regular television and just act like it's good for everybody when it's not. Which brings me to the next thing. UFC, which I love. I love the UFC. But let's be honest. It's fight porn. It's fight porn. I mean, it just is, because it's not like, again, porn is watching real people have sex, right? It's not simulated. They're actually doing it. Unfortunately, these things, they're fight porn. People are really beating the hell out of each other. They're really smashing each other's face in. They're really trying to break each other's arms. They've seen the elbows go bang. We've seen, it's real. It's basically like really high level bum fights. Okay, this is fight porn. Now, what is the difference? The other ones are a specific discipline with safety guards put in place that are not in any way relative to the way people actually fight. Okay? A wrestling competition, people actually don't just wrestle. A jiu-jitsu competition, people don't just pull, they do, but that's usually where a fight winds up, is on the ground. But they're going to be swinging and trying to, the only thing that can make this more fight porn is if they started just bringing in random weapons and a tiger and everything, basically taking it all the way back to the Roman days, when that's what it is. It's fight porn. Okay? And not that I have a problem with it. I love it. I love UFC, but it maybe shouldn't be on broadcast television. It probably shouldn't be on just regular old ESPN where anybody can watch it. It should be, unfortunately, age restricted. In my opinion, that's just me. If we're going to do the same thing with sex, we should do it with violence so that we aren't just this completely out of control. You know, you go around, you feel it. Everybody wants to fight each other. Where does this come from? Why does everyone want to fight each other these days? Well, because we're kind of become a hyper-violent society. Because we've said violence, great, totally fine, sex, bad. And I feel like we just need balance. Let's just be realistic about what's allowable. And I don't claim to have all the answers. I don't. I'm not saying outlaw anything. I'm just saying let's be honest that when we're, totally fine with all the violence, but we're like, no. If we're going to regulate one, we should regulate both for the purposes of a civilized society. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm just pointing out there's a huge hypocrisy there in America between how we look at sex and how we look at violence. Now, UFC, one of the funniest things is ESPN recently lost UFC to Paramount, right? Yeah, to CBS. So Paramount now has it, and UFC has decided to replace, or not UFC, ESPN has decided to replace UFC with the WWE. What are we doing? Like, so you took a real sport and replaced it with a complete lie. Not that they aren't doing incredible things, but come on, it's not a real sport. It's scripted. The winner is decided before they even go out there, which makes it not a real sport, so it has no business being on ESPN, especially when they're trying to show highlights like, you're not going to believe what happened. It's like, I totally believe that because they decided before it even happened. It's kind of embarrassing watching ESPN try and replace UFC with WWE because they're just not the same. Because again, UFC to me is a very real sport. WWE is just not. It's essentially, like a soap opera for dudes. That's it. Now, one of the things I recently traveled to the Middle East to do a military tour, and just so much. It was such an interesting and so many things happened. They're so strange to be on that side of the world and to really be in it. I went to Saudi Arabia. I went to the UAE. We went to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Jordan, Qatar, like all over the Middle East. But the thing that really... It was just striking to me that everywhere I went, the price was the price. And I talk about this in my act, how the price in America is never the price, because the price is never the actual price. Now there's fees and taxes and everything. And then they're putting the lie on it, it's $6.99. Is that so? No, it's just $6. I'm like 99 cents. Like, the price is never the price. Whereas there, if it's $6.99, guess what you pay when you get to the front? $6.99. And then they give you, the little penny back or whatever. It's so bizarre that the idea of the price not being the price is a foreign concept to them. Once you arrive at a price that, now, you can negotiate a price, okay, which we can't here. We don't negotiate prices. We just get the price and then the actual price. Whereas there, you can negotiate, but once a price is settled on, that's the price. That's what you're going to pay. They're going to be like, great, that's great. And now add 12% for this tax and this for this fee, and that's the real price. Nope, you agreed to it. It was very, I don't know, weird almost to be exposed to a culture that we consider far more primitive than our own. And for them, the primitive way is when it's a price, that's the price. And the sophisticated way is the price is not the price. We're going to go ahead and screw you out a couple more dollars while we're at it. So that's where we've advanced to, is just a straight up lie over and over again, because it feels like that's what happened. Now, let's get to the other stuff. First, the Melania movie. Everything about this is a lie. I'm sure she didn't really want to do it or ever thought, I need a movie about myself to be released. I'm sure that Amazon wasn't like, you know, we got to make an actual movie about and release it in theaters. That woman who never says anything or does anything, but she's, you know, the president's wife. Guys, come on. What are we doing? It's such, you know, it's an unveiled bribe. I mean, they're just giving him something to make him happy, so he doesn't. And that's I don't know what their end game is. I wonder, is it just deregulation? Is it just so he doesn't attack their businesses, so he doesn't ram the government rod straight up their ass, or is it because they want government contracts? But whatever it is an obvious, complete bribe to appeal to his vanity. And that's all it is. Nothing more. And nobody's looking at it. And if you're convinced that, no, this is a great lady that we really, what has this great lady done? I'm sorry, just, because I'm pretty sure it's nothing. So it's just funny that it's everyone, everyone's bending over backwards just to please him, and just please don't attack us, please. Everyone's afraid of this man, and I get it, rightfully so. He's the most vindictive person in the history of the office. Now, let's get to this. Is now we're getting into all this stuff, and you may, if you don't like that stuff, then you know that we got through the fun stuff. Now we got to get to this government stuff, and interestingly, Marjorie Taylor Greene has now gone out there and gone in the media and been like, MAGA is a lie. It was a total lie. They conned us. They went, and it's actually being run by foreign interests, and, you know, everyone with the bribe. She basically, you know, says it has nothing to do with helping the common man at all. It has to do with just making themselves rich as they can via the government, which I've said before, it's the great American shakedown. But she also, it's like, okay, great. Okay, so now we're talking about the greatest proponent, one of the greatest a-hole proponents of MAGA is now she got inside the inner workings. She saw what was happening. It was like, oh my God, this is not what we agreed to. Everything is a lie. But then, well, I appreciate the turn, it doesn't, you quit. So she quits Congress, which now she's useless. Like, that's great that you came to this realization. That's great that you're willing to go out there and say, guys, the truth is, this is a lie. They sold us a lie. It's completely untrue. But you left the one place where you could have actually done some good in being on switching teams, which was in Congress, because now ain't nobody going to want you to run as a Democrat. No Democrat's going to run for you. No independent wants to vote for you, and the Republicans ain't going to take you back. So your usefulness in coming to this realization is exactly zero. I mean, not zero, but it's not nearly what it could have been if you would have just stayed where you were and helped the people that might actually have been able to stop some of this evil from happening. But instead, you're like, oh my God, it was all I quit. Well, thanks, but, you know, your personal realization only knows so much that maybe the only good it could do is if other people who are thinking that way see that she's saying it, that maybe they'll be able to come to that conclusion on their own too. That is the only possible good that can come out of what she's done. Because she was just abhorrent when she was MAGA, and now, like, you're not MAGA, like, okay, thanks, but you're useless to everybody now. But having her come out and explain that everything is a lie, that MAGA is completely a lie, now let's apply that to what's happening, because we have a president who is willing to lie about everything. And I saw one of my Republican cohorts, you know, he's like, oh, the jobs report came out, guys, 155,000 new jobs, over 55,000 expected, or whatever it was. 140,000 versus 55,000. It's like, and you believe that? Everything this man says and does is a lie. He fired the person who delivered the last jobs report because he didn't like the numbers. And the next day, a new guy comes in, which I'm guessing is probably the same guy. And he was like, we made up some new numbers. Yeah, because you made them up. I think he actually said that, if I remember correctly, because I was watching it going, here's some new numbers. That's what he said. Here's some new numbers we just came up with, which I just found hilarious. Then he was like, yeah, we just came up with these. Yeah, you just made them up. And now they look at you, the jobs report comes out. And of course, those of you that want to believe that you're not wrong, that this is all still hunky-dory, are going to look at this and be like, see? Oh, you can't believe a simple jobs report? No, and you shouldn't either. Because there is nothing about anything this man has ever done that could lead you to believe he's telling the truth now. If you believe it, you just want to still be right so bad. And I get that. And there's nothing I can say to change your mind or anybody else. I just hope one day you see it and you're like, eh. And the only way you're going to see it is if you look around and you realize, where are these jobs they're talking about? Because I'm not getting one. The people I know that need a job aren't getting one. What are you talking about? Now, here's another one. Oh, my God. So, and we went through this the first time, the first 4 years. Now we're just going through it all again. And like, here we go. I'll just, and you wonder why I hate to defend Biden because they made so many mistakes with that, and they really contributed to putting us in this position. But they had so much they had to fix by the time they got things back. That they didn't do any. Well, they had to spend all their time trying to fix everything that was destroyed. And we're going to have to do it again, by the way. And they're the do-nothing Democrats, so it's not in them to actually do anything very quickly. They got him and have a meeting and a hearing, and then maybe and what did you guys think? And okay, well, maybe how does this benefit the rich, but also a little bit the poor? The EPA is going to stop regulating greenhouse gases. Now, for those of you who have forgotten what EPA stands for, it stands for the Environmental Protection Agency. So now it's going to stop protecting the environment, which means the very title is now a lie. They've taken the EPA and made it just not the EPA. We're just not going to do that. And here's what I find fascinating in all this. Why are we so obsessed as a culture? They managed to make this thing about fossil fuel versus not, renewable energy a political thing. This should not be a political Why are we defending fossil fuels? We're not benefiting from it. We're not making any money. Now, I understand the convenience of it. Everything we've done, we've built around fossil fuels. And switching off of it is very inconvenient. And the stupid, dumbass Democrats trying to force everybody into it before the infrastructure's there, before we really had the accomplishments, the technological advances to make it all just as convenient. No one's ever going to go along with that. If we can't make it just as convenient as the world that we've already gotten used to, we can't just be like, oh no, but it's for the good of them. Sorry, you got to do it whether you like it or not. That doesn't work. What we need to be doing is focusing on alternatives that do work. And I feel like we've just gone with the same old, wind and solar. It's like, great, okay, and we see what those do, but that can't be the end. Nuclear, well, nuclear is very dangerous. We've seen that. We have to find other sources. We can't just say that, those are the only options we got. We're out of ideas. We simply have to continue to innovate. That's the one thing this country does well, is innovate, is disrupt, is change. And we need to do that both to the political system and to energy. We just have to find, and when we discover it, we have to cultivate it and make it accessible instead of burying it to protect the fossil fuel industry, which is unfortunately what happens. Now, I have a little theory. Because it seems to me, when we talk about UFOs, aliens, etc., and foreign objects. And listen, if you don't believe in life on other planets and UFOs and stuff, just I don't know how anyone can walk out, look at all the stars in the sky, and go, "Wow, nothing." Okay, they're real. It exists, but in my opinion, what they've done, the way that they managed to accomplish interstellar travel, is by conquering gravity, by using gravity to generate power. And in many ways, I wonder if, and this is just an idea, again, this is one of Greg's fantastic theories and postulates. I wonder if the reason we see this activity on the earth, but we never interact with them, is because they have no interest in us. They have no interest in our primitive little societies. And no, we are essentially a gas station to them. That's all we are. We're a fairly stable atmosphere, right? With a strong enough gravitational pull that it doesn't destroy them, but it allows them to recharge whatever it is they have managed to devise to harness gravity as a power source. And when you look at a lot of these videos of UFOs, I took some myself when I was in Maui. We saw these UFOs, and I've seen other UFO videos. It's the same thing. There's this like spinning motion, right? There's always this spinning motion. What seems to be going on there? And I think it is gravitational. I think it's about harnessing gravity to create that, to churn it, to create the energy. I'm not a physicist. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just saying, it seems like maybe that the Earth is simply a gravitational gas station for interstellar travelers. Now, sometimes they land, sometimes they fuck with us. Sure, absolutely. I think they think we're a bunch of idiots. But I think they have conquered something that we haven't. And it may also require an element that we just don't have here, that they have on other planets, that they have in other solar systems, that we just don't have here, and that's why we can't do it. Or maybe we do, and we just don't know it, because we haven't explored this. But gravity seems like the ability to use gravity to create power seems like the cleanest, most accessible force on Earth that we have never been able to really fully explain or conquer. You know, when we take off in jet engine stuff, it's a fight. We are fighting gravity. We are fighting it with tremendous force. Whereas what I think they've managed to do, which allows them to zip, zap, zip, zap, zip, zip, is use gravity as an ally, as a power source, as opposed to trying to fight it. So, just one of my ideas. Just another Greg Wilson idea out there. By the way, now let's go back to one of the great horrors of our current time, the ICE agency. ICE, Immigration Customs, whatever, these horrible people that are throwing innocent people in, and then again, they're not deporting them all. They're just throwing them in these detention centers, and they're building tons and tons of these detention centers, which, mark my words, they're already getting out there and talking about Somalis and these groups, and don't think they won't use that. You know, they're just grabbing random Hispanics that are clearly U.S. citizens and throwing them into the mix. Don't think they won't use it to grab any black person they want, because they will. They're already doing it with Latinos. They will absolutely be like, oh, look Somali to me, throw them in the truck. Anything to beat up on, and that's what's horrible. But there was a video that came out of an ICE agent with a very thick Latino accent, and it sounded Cuban to me. We used to go to a Cuban church, so I've heard the Cuban accent, and it sounded Cuban to me. Now, I can't verify that. Maybe it's not, maybe something, but and let me tell you something. The Cubans don't have a great reputation with other Caribbean Latinos. They have a very particular viewpoint of them that I have heard a few times, and apparently they refer to them as shit-eaters. And I'm not saying that myself, but if you are a Cuban American who is clearly a first generation or an immigrant yourself, and you decide to work for ICE, trying to hunt down other Latinos, well, guess what, my friend? You are a big, fat fucking shit-eater. Now, all these stories, all this ICE and all these attacks and a more volatile political climate than we've had since the last time this guy was in charge. But what's just as sickening, not just as sickening, honestly, the videos of them like arresting moms and children, it's horrific. But also sickening is that every one of these is used by the Democrats, the DNC, for fundraising. It's never just about raising awareness. It's never about saying, hey, remember to support us, remember to talk to your friends. No, it's always like, can you believe that they're doing this? You need to rush me $20 right now before midnight to show them that we're, oh my God. Why does everything have to be a money grab? Not everything has to be a money grab, but every single thing with them is a money grab. The only thing is they're trying to grab it from you and I, as opposed to them trying to grab it from mega donors, which is what the Republicans do. So it's sickening. It's like, just go do your job. You're going to get the votes. Okay? It doesn't matter how much money they spend. Nobody wants this. It'll flip your way. But just the fact that every incident is just a veiled, not even veiled, it all ends with so send us money right now. And here's the other thing, you suppose there's one candidate you want to give it to, and I think I said this in the last episode, you click it, it goes to the, Act Blue, the DNC thing. You don't know if they're actually going to get it or if they're just going to give it a little to him and a little to them and everybody, then support people you don't support. But it's just sickening. You know what? Just have a plan. Make me want to donate to you by having a plan, by fighting the good fight. Instead of just saying, can you believe what they did? Send us $35 right now before midnight to help us fight back. Just do your job. That's what you're there to do. And by the way, when all of this winds up, how these guys think they're going to get away with it when historically they've never gotten away with it. Okay? And you know that it's because they assume no matter what happens, pardon city, baby. You're pardoned. You're pardoned. I have this theory. Here we go. Another theory. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a plausible hypothesist. But because everyone is counting on presidential pardons, and Trump, here's the thing, that's the linchpin in all this. Trump ain't going to make it. Trump is very, very sick. He isn't going to survive forever. Even if he tries to steal the next election, who knows how much time he's got left on the clock. He's not, but they always try and portray strong leader. He's such a strong leader, so strong. That's why they never show him walking in or walking out. He's always just sitting at the desk already. Everybody out there, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to poop myself. So if they ever come out and say that the president is in critical condition, just know that means he's already dead. He died, and they just need a few minutes to process the pardons, and then they'll announce that he's actually passed. So just know that, because otherwise they'll never just let it and be like, oh, he didn't, he forgot to sign all the pardons. They're probably sitting at his desk, pre-signed, ready to go. And I promise you, if something happens, and they will first say that he's in critical condition, then the pardons will be released, and then they'll admit that he's passed. And that, I promise you, that will be what they do. Because all these activities, all of them, all of these very open criminal activities are being done with the notion that no matter what, his last act will be to get everybody off the hook. Just like he did with it. He already demonstrated that he would do it. That's why they're so willing to just violate the Constitution up one side and down the other all day, every day, because they know he's going to bail them out, just like he bailed them out for what was treason on January 6th. He'll do it again, and they're absolutely counting on it. But, of course, the Democrats, they're just going to be like, oh my God, send us $35 because they pardoned everybody. That's why we, as an intelligent American electorate, need to come together. This is what will give us hope. There's no hope over with the Dems. We know what we're going to get. That's why nobody cares anymore. That's why everyone's so apathetic. That's why everyone's so depressed. They're not going to do nothing. They'll let everybody off the hook too. You know? That's why we, as what can give us hope, is forming a new collective, forming a new political party with a real agenda to just go forward. And I know there is the Forward Party, and I like them. I like what they're doing, but I don't think they're exciting people about the opportunity to really come together and form something new. And that's what we need to do around truth and liberty and making the changes that need to be made, to bringing in universal health care, just doing all those things and paying for it by, yes, taking that money from the rich and using it to take care of the poor, by changing the regulations around food so they can't just poison us all day, every day, which is what they're doing. And then so that they can keep us sick all the time, so that we need all these pills so they can make all this money. Universal health care kind of wipes all that out, reestablish the agricultural code so that they have to actually give us real food, not this fake ass chemicalized stuff that just makes you sick all day and bloated and full for nothing, and just kind of realign everything so that we are again the greatest country on earth, which we are not at all. We are not making America great. We're making everybody else great, and we're ruining everything we got. But we can still be that beacon of light. We can still be those things. We can still be the country of innovation, of doing things the right way. And here's the other thing. When did America get the idea that we have nothing to learn? We're the youngest country on the planet. And we don't think we have anything to learn from any of these cultures that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. We've got nothing to learn from none of them. Nothing, not a thing. Because that's one of the great American hypocrisies, that, if you're any good, we would know how to do it. We don't know how to do everything. We need to learn from other cultures. We need to look at some of their things. Sometimes a lot of these ancient cures are a lot better than all these chemicals that we jack you up with and end up exploding your fingers and whatever else. So we just have to, and I believe most people know this, there's just no political party representing that ideal. And I think that's where we need to come together and just reestablish the American dream, the American way, truth, justice, and the American way. The super party. All right, that's it. It's been 52 minutes. My voice is all like... So, sorry for yelling. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been Everything is a Lie, the podcast, and I'm Greg Wilson.